As a cost accountant, you're going to have various roles that contribute to the overall accounting system of the company that you work at. For the costing of particular cost objects, you're going to be responsible for tracking those actual costs that go in. So the cost of producing a good or providing a service or dealing with a customer. But you're also going to be asked to make expectations about what's happening during the upcoming period. You're going to have to budget costs for the purpose of your company's company-wide master budget about how much you think materials are going to cost for production, how much indirect, production supervision costs do you think you're going to pay, etc. And you are going to be responsible for setting standards for your company. That's the estimated cost per unit that is going to go in for each of its components. So if you're going to make Cybertrucks, what do you expect during the upcoming next business year, the material cost to be for each Cybertruck that you make? And that's going to be the standard by which your performance in manufacturing is judged against. It's what should be. Can we make a Cybertruck for the material cost that we predicted we were at the beginning of the period? So with that, you're going to have a whole bunch of ways that you're going to have to input information and for the purpose of what you're doing, also extract information from other areas of your business. If you're a smaller company, it is going to be in a bunch of various different locations. You might have some spreadsheets on there that you use to track the cost of an individual job or the quantities of material, like your inventory levels at the time. And those will be Excel spreadsheets that you'll have to go and look up. Or maybe those materials that you have are kept in databases like Access or SQL. Or if you're looking for, the expected sales quantity in there, you would have a list of all of your customers and how many units they purchase from you in one of those databases. And then some other information would come from your general accounting books, like how much rent was for the period, how much you paid in insurance costs, etc. You would go and get those from whatever accounting software your company is using, QuickBooks, Sage, etc. And small companies, because of cost constraints, will use these different, more affordable products, if you will, in combination to keep track of their books. But when you get to a bigger company where you can handle the cost of upgrading your system, you probably will want to an enterprise resource planning or ERP system. Essentially, what it is instead of having five different sources where you keep information from, it is one big, giant, overarching system that contains all of the information of your company. Any piece of data that you want to look for. Who are your employees at the time? Who's every customer you sold to in the last 2 years? What inventory do you have on hand? What taxes do you owe right now? You could pull all of those up collectively from one convenient place in an ERP system. And I keep talking about cost constraints, of why people don't use ERPs when they're smaller companies, or for the purpose of this class, when you're a student. They are incredibly expensive. Looking around, most places at the time I'm recording this, which is 2025, are charging about a $1,500 upfront fee, license fee annually for the ERP, with an additional $200 to $250 per user that you're going to allow access to it. So you have a big enough accounting staff in there. Running an ERP can cost you $20,000, $30,000 a year, not for the cost of people that are using it, but to actually have the system itself. So it's incredibly cost prohibitive, but they are amazing tools if you can afford to have them because they have all of the five principal business information systems in one convenient location instead of bouncing around. But even if you do have to, use different things, different spreadsheets, different databases, different accounting software, whatever, you should have these 5 points somewhere in your system, your financial reporting system, which would be like your QuickBooks, which would have all of the accounting transactions and your financial position listed in there. You would have your manufacturing systems, which is like a log of what is being manufactured at the time, what inputs went into producing it, what is the status if you're doing, jobs of the jobs at this current point in time. You would have an HRM or a human resource management system. It would tell you what employees you have how much they make per hour. If you need that information, you would go to your HRM system and find that. Customer relation management systems, or CRM systems, are basically the quantity that's being sold and who they're being sold to. The good news for nowadays is most places have a point of sale or POS system that puts it in there, like a scanner that you would have people swipe their card through, whatever, will put it into your system, but you'll have that information about all of that stuff. And then there's nothing worse than running out of the materials you need for production and having the whole thing shut down, or not having enough employees on hand to do the level of production that you planned because you have them somewhere else in the company at the time. And that is your supply chain management system. It manages your inventory levels, it manages your process and how much inventory you're going to need for that process at the time. And all of these different points are something that a cost accountant are going to need, and they're going to have to draw from these various different systems. Like if you're trying to say figure out what your actual cost is right now of the goods that you're producing, well, your manufacturing system is going to tell you the jobs that have been completed during the period and the status of any ones that are in the state of production but not yet finished when the period ends. You would go there to find that. Also find your cost of direct material and your quantity of direct materials that were used in production as well for that. If you're looking for your expected sales to figure out what your expected margin is going to be on there for the purposes of budgeting over here, you would go to your sales revenue information from your CRM. If you're trying to figure out what labor is going to cost you, well, you got to go figure out how much everybody makes in there, and that would be in your HRM system. And then other things that you would want to find in there, all of your overarching accounting costs to figure out your indirect costs, they would come from your financial reporting system. So, yes, in the process of figuring out the cost of one object, you might have to go to one, two, three, four different components of your business because you will have information all over the place that you need to retrieve. So, and here's the end of it right here. Reiterating one more time, you will somewhere have a financial reporting system. You will have a human resource management system. You will have a manufacturing system, and you will have a CRM system. And all of these terms that we just talked about might not be all in one place unless you've got a really, fancy high-end piece of ERP to work with. So you have to go to different spots to find indirect costs, to find labor costs, to find the status of your jobs, and to find what your sales are for making a sales, recording your sale revenues, or making a expected production budget to meet expected sales.